Your pain can become purpose. We often feel that when we live with a certain kind of pain, I know I felt it, that all that time that I went through recovering, living with severe mental health symptoms is dead time. It's time that's gone. It's time that's forgotten. It's time that is wasted and is lost. One of the things that I've found in my mental health journey has been the struggle to find purpose, to find not a reason to keep going, but something to live for, something that allows your life to have some kind of meaning again. And a big part of that is turning your pain into purpose. I want to talk about that today on today's episode. Like, share, and subscribe. This would be a great one for people that are living with mental illness to be inspired, but also for people that are caring for somebody with a mental illness who thinks that they're looking at a person that is without hope. How can you help them find purpose? What does purpose look like? Let's dive in and see what happens. Welcome to Mark My Words. Mark My Words is the story of my journey from a place where I was shattered to where I could live again. Turning pain into purpose. It sounds impossible. And for times in my life, it was impossible. My pain was my whole world. It didn't just affect my now. I didn't have a now because I was in so much pain. I didn't have a past because it distorted all of my memories through this lens of pain. And of course, I didn't have a future. The pain seemed like it was taking everything from me, everything that I was, everything that I could be. When I found recovery, it was the first step was managing my mental health symptoms, which was never easy. Still isn't easy. Still, it's a daily battle. But it was only step one. Step one was managing those symptoms, dealing with the chronic exhaustion of dealing with depression, anxiety, hyper-awareness, insomnia, all those kind of things combined. And you're able to deal with those symptoms. But for me, we never dealt with the heart issue was that I didn't have anything to live for. I had lost my career. I was on the verge of losing my family. Even though my wife and my kids were with me, I felt separated from them. I felt distant from them. I felt like they weren't part of my life. And I felt I had nothing good to give them. So I'm feeling this distance. I'm feeling like my whole world is just consumed with pain and I have nothing in the world to look forward to. For me, the missing key was purpose. Now, I've got somebody in my life at the moment who's in the same boat. They finally got their symptoms under control where it's manageable. They recognize when they're going to have a mental health crisis. They recognize when things aren't great with them, but they have no purpose. They have nothing to look forward to. They have no reason to get out of bed in the morning. And it's crippling. I'm watching it happen. I'm watching it in real life terms, watching this person struggle to move beyond their pain, watching this person struggle because while they've got their symptoms under control, they have no purpose. They have nothing to look forward to. There's nothing in their life that's forward moving. They're like a ship that's got its anchor down. Yeah, they can float, but they're not going to be able to get anywhere. They're not going to be able to do anything because they have this anchor of purposelessness. I don't even know if that's a word. It should be if it's not. But they have no reason to think that they have anything to contribute. They have no reason to believe that anything that they do is going to be worthwhile because they have no purpose. All right, we've diagnosed the problem. How do you find purpose? I have no idea. I have no idea because it's different for every person. Okay, I have a number of things in my life that give me purpose. One is being with my wife. Sounds ridiculous and it probably doesn't make sense to you, but it doesn't have to. When the suicidal ideation comes, when the desperation comes and I feel death knocking on my mind saying, need to kill yourself, I don't have to believe that anymore because I have something that I can counter it with. It's no, I want to be home with my wife. What else gives me purpose? Strangely, talking about my mental illness has given me purpose. You see, I can't hold down a 9-to-5 job. I've tried to do it, but I can't. My mental health is so bad that I fall apart and bad things happen when I'm trying to do a 9-to-5 job. Now, it's not my fault. I live with an injury, but it's definitely an impediment. You know, what kind of a man doesn't have a job? What kind of a man isn't supporting his family? Well, I've found other ways to do that, different ways. But it's still a struggle for me that I can't do a 9-to-5 job. I've stumbled into this thing where I tell my story. I've stumbled into a thing where I'm facilitating sessions for people in high school with that's about mental illness and suicide prevention. I volunteer at my local op shop. At the local Vinnies. I go down there and I sort books. They've allowed me to build my own little bookstore. And it's great because I have no responsibility. I just keep putting books out. They give me places to put books. I put books there. And it's turned into its own little thing. And it's something that gives me purpose. I wake up on those days, and even if I don't want to, I know that going there and sorting the books, moving the tubs around, putting books out the front, doing the pricing, I'll feel better at the end of the day. And it's given me some purpose. You see, when I had no purpose, when I had no reason to get out of bed, it was difficult to say to myself, get out of bed. Because why? Why am I getting out of bed? What's going to change if I get out of bed? Nothing. I can be in bed failing or I can be out of bed failing. There's no real difference. We talked about that last week. The idea that, you know, you're so caught up in this cycle of failure that it cripples you and you don't see the wins for what they are. You just see them as less defeat is. Things weren't I wasn't as defeated as I was last week. Not I succeeded a little bit better than I did last week. It's like, well, last week wasn't as bad. This week wasn't as bad as last week, so that's okay. Recognizing that that's a win. So you're living with somebody around you that has no sense of purpose. They're dealing with their symptoms. What do you do for that person? Well, as gently as you can, try and help them find purpose. It's what my wife did when I was at my worst, or when I was still struggling with my mental health, but I was able to do something. She said, what would you do if you could do anything in the world? And I said this stupid, ridiculous thing. I want to work in radio. Now, it made no sense. We didn't know anybody in radio. We didn't have any connections. But 3 weeks later, my wife had me a volunteer job announcing at a local radio station. And that led to years in the radio industry. It led to podcasts. It led to books being read. It's led to me speaking in front of thousands of people about the lived experience of mental illness and how it's just a bump in the road. And all that came from my wife just saying, what could you do if you could do anything in the world? It was a bizarre question, but it helped me. It was the question I needed. Now, if she had said, we've got to get you a job, what job are you going to do? You need to work. You need to be out of the house. That was not the question. It was, if you could do anything in the world, what would you do? It allowed me to step back and go, well, what interests me? What I was excellent at, what my career was gone. I could never go back to that. Never can. But my wife knew that I still had potential. There was still stuff in me that was good enough to be in the world and be seen as making a difference, even if it's just a tiny difference. The person you're dealing with wants to do something with their life. They want their life to matter somehow, whether that's have a family, deal with kids, be a better husband, be a worker, earn some money, whatever it is, they want to do it. They just can't see outside their pain how they're going to do it. My wife asked me about this opportunity that I had, and she said, "Oh, I know you don't want to do it." And the thing of it was, I really, 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 really wanted to do it. I just didn't believe it was possible. And if I didn't start it, it wouldn't be another thing that I failed at. Now, I had to explain that to her because she's like, "Oh, you really don't want to do that." And I was like, "No, I really do want to do it. I just believe it's impossible. It's not going to work. And I don't want to fail at something else again. I don't want to set myself up for failure." Now, knowing my wife, she now has a different perspective on what I just said. I didn't say I didn't want to do this thing. I desperately want to do it. I just don't know how it's possible. So even though I don't think about this stuff, I know that somewhere in the back of her mind, she's planning how this is going to happen and how it's going to be a success. That's what you can do for your person that's suffering. What would you do if you could do anything in the world? Now, if I had have said, I want to be a brain surgeon, she'd have gone, nah, maybe go to school first, see if you can succeed at that. Um, it's got to be something that's realistic. It's got to be something that's in my wheelhouse, something that I can do. Can't be, I was going to say it can't be pie in the sky, but it can be because it was for me working in radio. Just seemed ridiculous that could be an option for me. But it's got to be something that you know that they can succeed at, or you have hope that they can succeed at it. And you have the hope for them. Now, clearly, there's going to be people out there that this is not going to work with. They have to find their own purpose and they have to find it their own way. I know a guy who he loves skateboarding, just loves it, and can't see how it could be a job. Can't see that what we see is like people need skateboards fixed. You could do that. You could do something around that. You could volunteer at a place to help kids learn to skate. There's ways that you can make things happen. For me, it was volunteering at a radio station. And that's all I was, just a volunteer. And then it turned into something that showed me that I could be good at something again. What is your person passionate about? Do they love reading? Do they love books? Can they volunteer at their local opportunity shop, their local Vinnies, their Salvos, there's something like that? Tell them, I want to go in, I want to look after books. That's all I do at Vinnies. I just look after books. I don't do anything else. I don't work on the counter. I don't deal with customers. I just sort books, price books, put books on the shelves. If a customer comes up to me with a question, I grab somebody else. If I don't feel like speaking on a particular day, I don't speak. But I just go and I do the books and I love it. It's led to other opportunities. It's opened other doors that I didn't know could be opened. You never know what your persistence will achieve for the person in your life that is struggling. All this comes with the caveat of do it gently. Don't come to them while they're in crisis and say, "Why aren't you doing this job? Got to do a job." it's never going to help anybody. But when they're not in crisis, when they're able to think about stuff and push gently, don't push hard. Mate, I really think you should do this. This would be a great opportunity. What do you think about this? Are you thinking that you might like to do something outside of the house? Have you thought about this? I don't want to talk about it. That's fine. No problem. That's the end of that conversation. The next week, mate, I mentioned this the other day. Have you been thinking about it at all? Maybe they have. Maybe deep down in their heart, they're like, you know what? This is something that would be really cool. This is something that I would like to do. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. You never know what your suggestion, what your encouragement, and what your persistence will achieve for the person in your life that's struggling. Because our mental illness comes in waves. Sometimes the waves are strong. And when we're being hit by big waves, it's not the time to talk about, what ice cream do you want to eat? Are you going to go here while you're doing this? While they're in crisis, just get them through the crisis. Then when the waves are gone, when they're sitting there and things are calm, mate, have you thought about this? Do you think this might be a good idea? Maybe this would be a good idea. I've thought about this. Have you ever thought about doing that? No? That's okay. It's no problem. I'll keep coming up with other ideas. I'll keep trying to make suggestions. The person in your life needs your persistence, but you need to do it in a safe way. When somebody's drowning, you don't send another person who can't swim to go after them. You throw them a lifeline, whatever lifeline you can. When you've got them safe on the beach, that's when you start talking to them about their life decisions. Somebody's drowning. You swim up to them and go, mate, you parked your car wrong in the car park. They can't think about the car park. They can't think about the car. All they can think about is not drowning. But when they get back to their car, you're like, mate, you parked this a little bit this way. Have you thought about parking it this way next time? This might be a bit better. Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. You mentioned it at the right time, the appropriate time, not while they're drowning. I often think of a marathon runner. They're in the middle of a marathon. Somebody runs up to them and goes, or walks up to them and goes, mate, could you just duck down the shops and buy me a loaf of bread? While he's in the middle of his marathon. He cannot see the point of why he would go and get you some bread. Why can't you go get your own damn bread? I'm running this marathon. That's what it can feel like sometimes when you have a mental illness. You're running a marathon and then somebody comes up to you and says, hey, could you duck down the shops and get a loaf of bread? And you're like, I'm in the middle of a race. I can barely keep moving forward. And you're asking me about this? That's how it can feel sometimes. Finding purpose, in my experience, is the only way that I can move past my symptoms, my sense of self-doubt, my sense of inadequacy, is to have a purpose, to have something that I could look forward to, and it was something little. Let's talk about Vinnie's. I now go a couple of days a week, spend a few hours there, a few days a week. Initially, I was there for 2 hours and I counted every second. I need to get out of here. Then I go again and I do another, maybe I'd only last an hour and a half, but I do it. And then the next time I focus, I'm enjoying the books. When's the 2 hours up? The 2 hours is up. And I still get like that. No good after about 2 hours. And I know it in myself. I'm exhausted, mentally exhausted. I can go, okay, when I start to feel that, I know that I've had enough. I'm also in a safe place that I'm a volunteer, so I can leave anytime I want. As I said, that is just one activity amongst a number of activities that gives my life some purpose. Something that now I do. I look forward to going. I know that I can't be there all day. I know that I can't go every day, but I know that a couple of hours a week, couple of days a week, it's going to be great. Finding purpose, finding purpose, finding purpose. It's the one thing that helped me get past my mental health symptoms and helped me to start living again. That's it. Hey, I want to thank you for listening. We've had a lot of messages come in. The podcast has been blown up a little bit. A lot of people have been watching it. I will get to the questions as I can. For people that are new, I don't often look at the questions because of mental health and circumstance and stuff. I appreciate you reaching out. If you want to tell your story, DM me. Just say, I'd love to tell my story. Have a great week. I'll speak to you again next time. Like, share, subscribe, all that sort of good gear. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Mark My Words. I'd like to thank my producer, Meredith Brosnan, and also Torian, Kevin, and Lorraine. And I can't forget the band Adelaide, who allows us to use their song as our theme.